Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so we've got a watercolor sketchbook review for you today. I was contacted recently by Etchr and they asked if they could send me a couple of sketchbooks for review, and of course I didn't turn them down. I've already been using the Everyday Sketchbook for quite a few years now and really love it, and they said they were going to send me the Perfect Sketchbook in A4 and a different style of the Everyday Sketchbook which I hadn't used before. This is sort of in portrait format, and it's a B5 size. So I haven't used that size before in that format, so that's going to be interesting. So we can hardly do an Etchr sketchbook review without talking about the packing. So as you can see, I've already unpacked them. When I got them, the Everyday Sketchbook was already wrapped in cellophane all around the sketchbook, and it came in this very nice cardboard box, and the cardboard box was all wrapped in cellophane as well. But the Perfect Sketchbook, that was all wrapped in cellophane as well, the actual sketchbook itself. We've got this label strapped around it, and it came inside this sort of card folder like that, and then all of that came inside yet another box which again was wrapped in cellophane. It's got the elasticated label on there. So Etchr really mean business when they're sending sketchbooks out. They really want you to get them in good condition. I've heard some say that the packaging might be a bit excessive. I kind of agree with that, but then when you're paying a lot of money for these sketchbooks, because they're not cheap, when you're paying a lot of money for them, you want them to arrive in perfect condition. Now if we take a quick look at the B5 Everyday Sketchbook first, you can see the size difference there with a standard A4 sketchbook, and if I just bring my little A5 sketchbook in and put that on top, you can kind of see the size differences there. Now the Everyday Sketchbook comes in quite a large array of different sizes and styles. You can get both cold pressed and hot pressed watercolour paper in there. You can get them in either landscape format or, as this one is, portrait format, and they all come in 3 different sizes. Now I was a bit confused by this because the sizes that they're advertising on the website are different to some of the sizes that I've seen in the shops and that I've actually got. You used to be able to get an A4 size in this sketchbook. I don't think they're doing that anymore. It just looks like you can get the B5, the A5 and the A6 size in this size now. In this style now. But I'll leave links to Etchr's website, and I'll also leave links to Jackson's as well, to the page where they do all the Etchr sketchbooks, and you can go along and see all the different sizes and the different combinations of paper and landscape and portrait mode, etc. Not such a wide choice with the Perfect Sketchbook. You can only get this in A4 or A5 in this landscape format. That's all I've seen up to now. So you're probably wondering, what's the difference then between the Perfect Sketchbook and the Everyday Sketchbook? Well, price for one. If you check the prices out, you'll notice that the Perfect Sketchbook, very expensive. It does have different paper compared to the Everyday Sketchbook. Should have mentioned at the start, they're both 100% cotton paper. The Everyday Sketchbook has 230 gram 100% cotton paper, whereas the Perfect Sketchbook has 300 grams 100% cotton paper, archival grade. So we've got a difference in paper and weight of paper. Obviously we've got a difference in the style of covers there. The Everyday Sketchbook has this sort of white linen canvas cover, which Etchr say you can decorate yourself. You know, you can paint acrylic or oil on there. Probably need to gesso it first, I guess, but it's not something I'd intend to do. And the Perfect Sketchbook has this PU cover on it, and they're both vegan friendly. There's no animal cruelty issues involved at all in the manufacture of these sketchbooks, so that's a plus, that's a good thing. So we've got a kind of a smooth PU cover on that, which is nice and wipeable. You know, you could clean that and it's not going to get dirty or grubby looking, whereas this one will. You know, this white linen cover is going to pick up dirt and grime, watercolour splashes, graphite marks and all that kind of thing pretty quickly. But I guess you could always get a plastic cover for it, or decorate it yourself, or whatever you want to do there. Okay, so if we just have a quick look inside, we've got the securing ribbon there, or securing elastic. A little bit stiff to start with. It doesn't sort of stay open from the first page, so it's going to need a little bit of coaxing to kind of stay it open. So yeah, it doesn't sort of stay open for long, so you're going to have to sort of wear this in, you know, to be able to use it comfortably on your lap if you're painting or something outside. But a little bit of just gently bending back there on the spine just to keep the pages open. Something else I always look for in a sketchbook, and as soon as I unpacked these, the first thing I done was went to the page where the ribbon was, because I've had some bad experiences with this. Sometimes the ribbon gets kind of put in there at a funny sort of angle, you know, and the pages get shut down on it, and then it gets all the sketchbooks stacked on it and weight and everything. And what happens is you get these embossed marks from the ribbon on the paper, not just on this side, but it'll actually emboss through on several sheets. I've actually had that before happen to me with several sketchbooks, in fact. If I was making sketchbooks, I would definitely ship them out with the ribbon stored on the back there, where it can do the least amount of damage. But luckily there was no damage in either of these sketchbooks, so quite pleased about that. Now on the back we've got the standard pocket there. There's a little leaflet in there. You can put your name and address on there if you want to. A little bit about the sketchbook there. Mixed media heavyweight paper, 230 grams, 100% cotton, cold pressed. Both sides can be used for painting. Ideal for pen, ink, watercolour and gouache. 52 acid-free pages and 26 sheets in brackets there. So that's not bad at all, really. So all in all, they're a very well made sketchbook. I've been using them, like I say, for a couple of years now. I've got this one on the go and another one at the minute. I always recommend them to my members over on Patreon, and I've mentioned them a few times on YouTube when I've been doing some of the demos in here. A couple of little bird paintings and things like that. You've probably already seen these on YouTube, but I often mention that I'm actually working in an Etchr sketchbook, and you know how much I actually enjoy using these sketchbooks. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago now, I actually made a comparison review with Sea White sketchbooks and Moleskine sketchbooks, because I'd just done a butterfly project in one of the Moleskine sketchbooks and it basically fell apart at the seams. I've actually managed to fix that now, but I was very disappointed with the quality of the paper in the Moleskine sketchbooks, and I mentioned then I wish somebody would make a 100% cotton watercolour travel journal, because at that time they virtually didn't exist anywhere. It was very cheap quality paper that you used to get in these watercolour travel journals, but now, you know, we've got this lovely quality paper, and you can really, you know, get some nice results with wet into wet and fine detail, and the paper really does behave, you know, like a really good quality paper. So that's the everyday sketchbook there. Quite interested actually with this B5 size, and I much prefer portrait mode. Even though I paint a lot of landscapes, I still find it a lot easier to have one of these on my lap instead of having sketchbook in portrait mode, you know, they kind of get a little bit unwieldy and kind of flopping around a little bit when you're trying to use them on your lap. You know, they're not quite so stable, I don't think, as using one of these. These are good if you want to do a nice big long panoramic view across 2 sheets, but these are also good if you want to use 2 sheets. You know, that's quite a nice size and a nice format to do, you know, a nice watercolour landscape on there. Now, I won't be doing a demonstration in this sketchbook because, like I say, I've already done quite a few on YouTube, you know, in this sketchbook here of all sorts of things. So I'll put links in the description below to the videos for the paintings in here, so you can see, you know, how this sketchbook performs. But I'll spoil it for you now. It performs perfectly. It's my favourite ever watercolour sketchbook. But that might all change actually, because I've not actually tried the Perfect sketchbook with different paper in it, so I might like this one better. I'm going to do a demonstration in this and put this to the test and see how we go with it. I'll just take this this label off here. I did actually contact Etchr because I'd read on the website and on Jackson's website as well that the Perfect sketchbook, well, there's actually 2 versions of it. There's this version, which is just called the Perfect sketchbook, and then there's another version of it called the Perfect sketchbook Signature series. That has sort of a brown beige sort of style cover on there, and that's actually advertised as having Fabriano watercolour paper in it. So I contacted Etchr and said, does this also have Fabriano watercolour paper in it? And they just replied, we make our own paper for these products. So this one won't contain Fabriano. I haven't seen this one advertised as such, so it's going to be interesting to actually see what the paper's like. One thing I did notice about this sketchbook, this one pretty much does open flat from new. You know, just a little bit of just bending down to keep the pages down. You're going to have clips on it anyway. I'll see if I can actually get a close-up of the paper. Okay, so if I try and get these in the light there so that you can kind of see if we can pick up some grain texture there. If I just tilt the lamp a little bit on that. I think the Everyday Sketchbook is a little bit smoother, and the Perfect sketchbook seems like it's got a little bit more texture, so I don't think it's the same paper that they're using in these. They are 2 different papers, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up or not, but this one looks whiter, whereas this one's got a very slight cream tint to it. So it does look like 2 different papers to me. And again, this is in the travel journal style. You know, we've got the ribbon there. Again, I've checked to see if it's left any marks. It hasn't. I'm going to put this in the back when I think about it. And we've also got the expandable pocket there, again with the leaflet in. Nice rounded corners, and like I say, nice cover. I don't know which cover I actually like the best. I think I'm going to go for this one actually, because it's more serviceable. You know, you can keep it clean if you have any spillage with your watercolours or anything. This one's going to be a bit more waterproof and a bit more wipeable, you know, whereas this one is going to stain easy. I don't think it's waterproof, but I think it would be nice if they actually made this wipeable so that it didn't stain easily, it didn't mark easily. I think the white looks really good, but I do think this one is much more serviceable. So there we go. There's a brief look at the Etchr sketchbooks. Now I think we want to do a little bit of painting with them. So the first test of this paper, I decided to do wet in wet and really put, you know, a lot of paint down, a lot of water down, let the paint just flow, see what it does, and also see how the paper responds, you know, to the heavy load of water and moisture on there. It didn't really buckle too much, even though the paper is taped around the edges there. It did belly a little bit, but it didn't cockle all over the place. that belly kind of dried out flat, you know, as the paper dried, so no problems there. I mean, that's thanks to the heavyweight paper in this sketchbook. Second test was to remove masking fluid to see if the paper got damaged or ripped or anything. That was absolutely fine. The paper stood up to it perfectly, as you'd expect from a 100% cotton paper. Decided to use some ink on this drawing as well to see if we could get any bleed through the pages, or if there was any feathering of the edges or anything, and it performed perfectly, no problem at all. So the next test after the inking was to start with the details and the smaller washes. I didn't have any problems at all with this, but I did find that trying to get blended edges in small areas was a little bit tricky. Not the fault of the paper, more the fault of me. I just needed to get used to the timing and the absorbency of the paper, because I haven't obviously used this paper before, so I'm not used to its behaviour yet and how it works. So it just took a little bit of time to get used to, but after I was used to it, it's absolutely fantastic paper to work on. 100% cotton paper of this quality in a sketchbook is really good. So there's a finished painting. I was really pleased with the results on the paper. Had no problems with it whatsoever. A joy to work on. Right, so the conclusion then. Well, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I've been using this particular style of Etchr sketchbook for the last couple of years, and right at this moment it's still my favourite sketchbook. And particularly now that they're doing it in this B5 size and the portrait format, I think it's great. It's not too big, it's not too small. Whereas before, I'd usually take an A5 size sketchbook out with me. Even though I don't like this kind of landscape style opening on them, I always kind of, would take something like that, if I was going out sketching. But this just seems a much better option to have this kind of portrait mode. It's not unwieldy, it's not flapping around. I really do like that, and it's a shame that the perfect sketchbook doesn't come in as many options as this, because I think the paper in this sketchbook has got the edge over the paper in this one. But that's not to say there's anything wrong with this paper. It's brilliant. I love this paper. And when I first got the Etchr sketchbook that I had years ago, as soon as I used the paper, I thought there's no need for me to continue looking now for a nice watercolor sketchbook. This is the one. I've found what I'm happy with. Can't imagine anything better. No need for me to even search. I'm sticking with this. But then, this came along, and I think when I say that the paper's better, it's certainly different. It's a heavier weight, and it's got a coarser texture on it, which I think will be good for dry brush, which I didn't actually test when I'd done the painting of the bird, the hummingbird there. But I think for landscapes and getting, some textural watercolours going, I think this paper is going to be really good. But I'm sure I could probably do the same on this, just not quite as easily as that. So again, it's a personal choice of what surface you like there. They're both cold pressed. But I think, if I was to choose one out of them both to say which, personally do I like the best, I'm still going to go with this one. It's a little bit cheaper. I like the cover on this as well, the cotton canvas cover. I just wish it was grey, because this is going to look ugly very quickly. It's going to get really dirty. If you're taking this out, sketching outside, you're on the beach or something, you lay this down on the sand or some wet grass, or this sort of thing, it's going to pick up marks and stains and all sorts really quickly. Whereas this one won't. This is much more wipeable, although I don't think it's quite as durable. It's a thinner finish. Don't know how long that's going to last, how well it's going to take knocks and scrapes and things like that. I think this one will take pretty much anything you throw at it. This hard cover with the canvas coating on it. It's just not waterproof or wipeable. It's a shame that Etchr can't put some kind of material like that on there, or at least make this grey or a darker colour that doesn't show the dirt quite so much. I know, first world problems and all the rest of it, but it would be nice, wouldn't it? Then I think that would be, you know, the perfect sketchbook right there. Now, one little gripe I have got, and that is the amount of packaging. I did kind of touch on this on the start of the video there, but if we just look at the packaging that just comes with the perfect sketchbook, you know, we've got that, we've got that, we've got that, we've got the cellophane as well, which went in the bin, and then we've got the shipping box that, you know, all of this came in. That's a lot of waste. I think that's an excessive amount of waste for just one sketchbook. I really don't think this is necessary, and I really don't want to pay extra for this either. You know, okay, I got the sketchbook for free, so who am I to moan? But, you know, when I think about it, I want to buy another one of these sometime, you know, down the road. But I don't want to pay extra for all of this, you know, because this costs money. The cost is going to get passed on to the consumer. You know, and this is going to end up in the bin, unless of course, you know, you store your sketchbook back in all of this again when it's finished, which I don't. I just store them like this on a bookcase. And again, the everyday sketchbook, which I prefer, it just came in this and some cellophane wrapping, which is not quite so bad. I still don't think it even needs this. I still think these could just come wrapped in cellophane like all other sketchbooks do. I don't see why, you know, we have to have all of this waste and all of this extra expense. I'd much rather lose all of that, make these sketchbooks a little bit more affordable, a little bit more cheaper, and I think everybody, you know, would be a lot happier. Not that they're not very happy now with these sketchbooks. I mean, like I say, they are the best watercolour travel journal sketchbooks on the market, bar none. Once you've used these, that's it. There's nowhere left to go. Okay, somebody's going to write in and say, have you tried the, you know, Hannah Mule, or have you tried this or that? Or I don't need to. I've found what works perfectly, and once you've found it, why do you need to keep buying other sketchbooks and trying them when you've found, you know, the perfect one for you? These are just brilliant. They really are. They just work so well. You know, they've got everything going for them, apart from, like I said, the only thing I don't like is all of the excess packaging that comes with it, and how much extra am I paying for that? You know, that's what hardcovers on sketchbooks are for, to take the knocks, to take the bruises, to take the scrapes, you know, the spills and all of that kind of thing. It's just there to protect the paper, you know. That is the protective packaging in itself. We don't need a protective packaging on the protective packaging. You know, we really don't. Just make them more serviceable. Like I say, make this one wipeable, and this would be perfect. You know, there we go. I mean, I hope that's not sounded too negative. I don't mean to be negative at all. I mean, I'm overjoyed and really grateful for these sketchbooks. And like I say, these are the ones that I use all of the time and always recommend to my members over on Patreon. And in fact, I've just started, even though I said I wasn't going to do a demonstration in this one, because I've done so many on YouTube in the perfect sketchbook, but there's no need for me to do another demonstration now. But I've actually started another project in this sketchbook. I'm going to be doing all of the British butterflies again in colour, like I've done with the Moleskine sketchbook, but this time, you know, in a much nicer sketchbook, you know, with real quality paper in there. So I'll be putting a few videos up of this, you know, here and there on YouTube, and putting some tutorials up on Patreon of this as we go along. But already, just the ink work on here, this paper is just a joy to work on. I really do love it. I really do. I think they're great sketchbooks. You know, just a couple of things I'd change. Like I say, I'd make the perfect sketchbook give an option for one like this in portrait, because I know a lot of people don't like this kind of great big opening up of these landscapes, you know, sketchbooks. They take up too much room on your desk. They can be unbalanced on a tripod easel, whereas these are much more balanced. You know, they're kind of a square of formats. It doesn't really matter which way you have them. They stay nice and balanced on an easel and on your lap. I prefer them, and I know a lot of other people do. So, you know, for more options, if you preferred the paper in this, you know, it'd be great if you could get the portrait one as well, because I think I would buy the portrait one in the Perfect Sketchbook next time. I really do like them. Okay, so there we go. So before I end the video, let me know your thoughts on this. What do you do with all the packaging from these? Do you save them and put your sketchbooks back in them again, or do you throw them away? Do you think it's a bit excessive, or do you think it's a good idea to have this amount of protection on a sketchbook? You know, if I'm wrong, let me know. Like I say, it's just my opinion that that's just a little bit over the top and unnecessary. Okay, so there we go. That's the review and the conclusion of the Etchr sketchbooks. Hope that was helpful to you. Look forward to reading your comments on that, and I'll see you in the next one. So take care, everybody. Bye for now.